What up, Shitsumus here? Here is my throwback segment where I talk about the films that turns 10, 20, 30, and 40 this week. Alright, the films celebrating their 10th anniversary, we got the thriller No Good Deed. Now, this film stars Raj B. Henson and Idris Elba, and it's where, like, an Atlanta writer played by Henson lets a charming stranger played by Elba to use her phone and soon believes the edge where no good deed goes unpunished when he takes over her home and terrorizes her family. I remember watching this one in theaters back in 2014. It's actually a lot of fun. Of course, September really set like they don't really do it anymore unless if it's like a Tubi original. But like almost every September, it really felt like they were doing like these obsessive based films. Like this year was of course, or 2014 was No Good Deed. Then I think it was 2015 was that Perfect Man or something like that with Michael Ealy. Then the following year was When the Bow Breaks, both of which I believe had Horse Chestnut. So yeah, they don't really do it hardly anymore nowadays. Uh, but No Good Deed was a lot of fun. Like Idris Elba, he knows how to play the bad guy perfectly. You know, I think he'll be a great James Bond. Don't get me wrong, but I think Idris Elba will actually play a better Bond villain than James Bond. He could really my favorite roles of his is actually not the hero role; it's the villain role. Of course, he played the voice of not Mufasa, not Scar, Shere Khan in the John Favreau directed Jungle Book film. Then he also did play the villain in that the third Star Trek film Beyond. And he played obviously the Suicide Squad, but that was more of an anti-hero. Obviously Hobbs and Shaw. He's like this one is maybe one of his most creepiest roles he did. So yeah, if you guys had not seen No Good Deed, it's not a great film, but it's actually a lot of fun to check out. All right, also turning 10, we got Dolphin Tale 2. Now this is a sequel to the 2014 film of the same name, based on a true story of about a rescued bottlenose dolphin named Winter, who made her final appearance in the film before her death in November 2021. Now this time around, it tells the story of another dolphin at the Clearwater Marine Aquarium named Hope after Winter's elderly companion and surrogate mother Palma passes. Winter's future is in jeopardy unless Sawyer Clay, Hazel, and the rest of the team find like a new companion for her. Now it's not as good as the first Dolphin Tale, but I actually thought it was some pretty. It was still pretty charming. Of course, you had like Morgan Freeman, Harry Connick Jr., Ashley Judd was also and also you had Chris Christopherson was in both of them too. They're not bad. I always do love these like animal based films. The '90s done a lot of those this really had a little bit of like a flipper vibe at times. Definitely brought you back with those films like Free Willy. It's a real like both movies are actually pretty decent if you guys haven't seen them. All right, also turning 10 is The Drop. Sadly, this movie will actually be was actually James Gandolfini's final film before his passing, and man, James Gandolfini was great in this film. It's also starred like Tom Hardy, Numira Pace. If you guys don't know much about it, it follows Rob, who's a barman who becomes entangled in a investigation after the mafia run bar where he works is Rob. And The Drop is a really fun film. Of course, Tom Hardy was great in this. James Gandolfini. It was cool. It was really nice that his final film, you know, before his passing, he actually ended up at playing what really made him more famous is playing a mobster. I've been actually rewatching like The Sopranos on Max because I've been having like a Sopranos feel lately. And of course, I just checked out the Sopranos documentary this week. James Gandolfini knows how to play the tough guy well, and it was cool because before this he also did Enough Said the year prior, but it was cool that his final film was pretty much a role that made him more famous, and he is so great in this. Really show how great he was at playing like the mobster. Uh, he who doesn't love James Gandolfini? R.I.P. R.I.P. Jimmy. He's always been the best. And, the Sopranos, by the way, 25 years. I tell you right now, it's still one of the greatest TV shows of all time. It's so great. If you guys never seen The Sopranos either, do yourself a favor. It's on Max. Go watch The Sopranos. It's one of the greatest. All right. Now, 20 years, we got Resident Evil Apocalypse, where this time a follow up to 2000, I think it was 2001 or 2002, Evil Dead, Resident Evil, where Alice escapes from the underground facility overrun by zombies, but she now bands together with other survivors and escape to the zombie outbreak. And I actually thought the sequel was pretty decent. The Resident Evil movies, aren't like the best, but they are the better like film adaptation we had in past years. Mila Jovovich plays Alice perfectly. Ali Larter was also in this. Apocalypse was a really decent follow up there. All right, also turning 20, we got Cellular. Now this movie starred Chris Evans, Kim Basinger, Jason Statham. One of the few times he actually played a villain. Like, yeah, I think this is actually the if I'm not mistaken, this is probably, I believe, the last. Oh no, I guess you count Shaw, but this was actually the first time you actually got to really see him play the bad guy. Well, this was actually the first time I've ever seen him as a bad guy, really. Uh, Now, if you guys don't, also you had William H Macy was in this. Cellular is a lot of fun. If you guys don't know much about the film, it's where a female science teacher is kidnapped by home invaders, but manages to randomly phone a stranger and call for help. The man informs the police about the kidnapping before realizing that the kidnappers are dirty cops working for the LA Police Department. Now, this movie, of course, is way ahead of its time. Obviously, not many people use cellular phones nowadays, but this movie is really fun to check out. Of course, it was at the time where like Chris Evans was trying to find his foot in the door with acting. Obviously, beforehand he did like not another teen movie, The Perfect Score. He did a lot of stuff before donning that shield. And this movie is really fun to check out. Of course, Chris Evans, William H Macy plays like a cop in this. Jessica Biel was in this. I believe this was actually like one of the few times I first saw Jessica Biel on screen. I used to have a huge crush on her back in the day. All right. This was also directed by I forgot this was directed by David R. Ellis, R.I.P. David. He also directed like two of the Final Destination movies. He also did Snakes on a Plane, Shark Night. Gone way too soon. I've always liked David R. Ellis's work. Now other films turning 20, we got Criminal, which stars John C. Reilly, Maggie Gyllenhaal, Diego Luna, and we're needing like a partner capable of incarnate cons. Richard, played by Raleigh, recruits Rodrigo, played by Luna, a crook with a perfect poker face, and the two plans a big scam, pretty much stealing a fake silver certificate to currency collector William Harrington, played by Pierre Mullen. And this movie is actually pretty interesting. John C. Reilly's pretty good. Maggie Gyllenhaal is pretty decent. Like really good chemistry there. So definitely give that one a go if you guys haven't seen it. Also turning 20, we got Malevolence, which is a slasher film uh, that follows a mother and her daughter who are held hostage by bank robbers at an abandoned house. And the robbers plans like a uh, distributed when they are all confronted by like a serial killer and resides on the nearby property. Not a bad little horror thriller here. I mean, 2004 had some really interesting horror films in the number of years that year, and while this is not like the memorable one, it's a really decent little horror film we're going to go. All right, films turning 30 this week. We got the classic Quentin Tarantino, maybe my favorite Quentin Tarantino film, Pulp Fiction. Starring John Travolta as Vincent Vega, uh, Sam Jackson as Jules Winfield, Ving Rhames as Marcellus Wallace, Uma Thurman, Bruce Willis was in this, Chris Walken, Steve Buscemi, Rosanna Arquette. I mean, the list goes on and on. Who doesn't love Pulp Fiction? To me, it's one of it's literally the best Quentin Tarantino film. Sam Jackson, which I believe he actually got nominated for this, didn't win, but Sam Jackson was excellent in this film. Some of the most iconic lines and iconic scenes here. Uh, what does Marcellus Wallace look like? Say what? I mean, such an iconic line right there. John Travolta. This was actually the movie that really was a comeback for John Travolta. I would love to see John Travolta make another comeback. But at the time, John Travolta, who had big hits with stuff like Grease, Saturday Night Fever, he really stumbled at the time, and so Quentin Tarantino brought him back and really made him shine once again here. And this is maybe one of his best performances he's ever put out. Uh, Quentin Tarantino, he's never really directed a film I dislike. I really adore all of his stuff. Even Death Proof. I don't care what anyone says. Death Proof is awesome. But Pulp Fiction, which actually got nominated for Best Picture, of course, he got nominated with the likes of Forrest Gump, Shawshank, which of course Forrest Gump won. What else? Oh yeah, Four Wings, A Funeral, and Quiz Show. Talk about really killer lineup right there. But yeah, if you guys have not seen Pulp Fiction for some ever reason, go watch it. It's such a really terrific one. All right, now films turning. Okay, sorry about that. All right, now films celebrating their uh, 30th anniversary. We got Wagons East, which sadly was one of what sadly was actually one of John Kennedy's final films before his passing. If you guys don't know much about Wagons East, it also starred the late Richard Lewis, John C. McClane, Elaine Green, Ed Laufer, and many others. It tells the story of an alcoholic wagon master who leads a group of misfits settlers in the Wild West back to the East. And not a bad one. I mean, it's not like one of John Kennedy's classics, nothing like that. I mean, John Kennedy, R.I.P. John Kennedy. But whenever you think of his iconic stuff, obviously Uncle Buck, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. This is not my favorite film of his, but it's actually pretty fun and 90s classic, and really makes you miss John Kennedy a whole lot when you see him in this. It would have been interesting what his career would have been like if he had lived longer. But yeah, definitely go check out Wagons East. Now, his last film, I believe, was Canadian Bacon, if I'm not mistaken, with that Michael Moore directed. Also turning, yeah, also turning 20 or 30, I might say. We got Trial by Jury, where Valerie Alston, played by Joanne Welly Kilmer, is placed on the jury for the criminal case of mob boss Rusty Perone, played by Armin Hassan. And it's not long before she is joined by the right by his right hand man Tom Vesey, played by William Hurt. Though it is clear to the 11 other members of the jury that Perone is guilty. Now you also had Gabriel Bryan was also in this. I always do like these it's actually a really decent film. And I really of course do like these law based films. And this, the 90s had some really cool ones like A Time to Kill, The Client, Juror was a pretty good one too. This is another really decent one worth checking out. Armin Assant, by the way, no, speaking of actors who knows how to play mobsters, he knows how to play mobsters perfectly. Alright, now, other stuff turning 30, we got the Johnny Depp film, Arizona Dreams, where Axel, played by Depp, gets caught up in the family car business when his cousin, Paul, played by the Brown Bunny star Vincent Gallo, coaxes him to come to Arizona to attend the wedding of their uncle Leo, played by the late great Jerry Lewis. You also had the likes of Faye Dunaway, Lily Taylor, I mean, it's not really that like too memorable. Like, it's one of the Johnny Depp's films that no one barely talks about nowadays. I mean, it's. I remember watching this. I don't really remember too much about it, to be honest with you. But yeah. Anyway, all right. Also turning dirty is A Good Man in Africa, which stars Sean Connery, John Lithgow, Louis Gossett Jr., Diana Rigg. Where like Morgan Leffey is a British diplomat living in Kanjana, an African nation which has Fan Shaw, played by Lithgow, a new diplomat eager to leave Africa, learns that Kanjana sets out on top of a huge oil reserve. But Morgan is too preoccupied with alcohol and women to know, what to do with that and stuff. I mean, not really one of Sean Connery's memorable films, to be honest. All right, now, last but not least, turning 40. Not really a lot turning 40 this week, but we do got one of Denzel's earliest films, A Soldier's Story. Now, this, of course, got adapted to Broadway recent as well. It's where a black army investigator, played by Aaron E. Rollins Jr., travels to a remote military base in the heart of the Louisiana backwoods to look into the mysterious murder of a black sergeant towards the trail of end of World War II. And of course, once he arrives, the investigator discovers an army regiment and an entire community that despite the army regiment begins interrogation in like a shill torn apart here. Again, this is actually like his Denzel's first film was Carbon Copy, but of course this was actually one of his I believe this was actually his second film he did after Carbon Copy. And while it's not my favorite Denzel film or anything like that, it's a really decent film worth checking out. Denzel's terrific. Of course, years later he'll also do stuff like Cry Freedom, Remember the Titans, Malcolm X, and this was one of the films that really showcased Denzel's acting chops, and he was really great in this. So, if you guys never seen Soldier Story, give that one a go. But that's pretty much it there. Let me lead you guys. Which of these films stand out to you the most? To me, the 10-year one is actually going to go to The Drop. The 20-year one is going to go to Cellular. The 30-year one is going to go to Pulp Fiction. And the 40-year one is going to A Soldier Story. Anyway, drop comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell for notification. This is Human